Hello and welcome to the old Fliers. Air museums, wherever they are, value iconic aircraft for either static or flying display, such as DC-3s, Spitfires, Concords, or perhaps a Connie. The Lockheed Constellation is, in my opinion, the best looking aircraft around. Leave a comment if you disagree. The HARS Aviation Museum in Wollongong has acquired one from a most unlikely source. Video shown in this presentation is from an affair with Connie produced for HARS. First, a little background to the story. Lockheed commenced design work on the Constellation in 1939, building commencing in 1943. It was the first pressurized cabin civil airliner, meaning it could fly above weather, ensuring a more comfortable ride for passengers. 856 were produced between 1943 and 1958. The only flying examples left are the Breitling Super Constellation in Switzerland and the L1049 Super Constellation in Wollongong. An L1649A Super Star is being restored for the Lufthansa Museum, as well as the Constellation L749, which was President Dwight Eisenhower's Air Force One. The story of how HARS managed to find and restore their Connie is interesting. This Connie was operated by the United States Air Force, then Military Air Transport Wing, Mississippi Air National Guard, West Virginia Air National Guard, then Pennsylvania Air National Guard, then relegated to storage at David Monthan Air Base at Tucson, Arizona in 1977. The world's biggest aviation boneyard. Considered obsolete and of no further use, storage maintenance ceased in 1981, and as a result, L1049 was designated of scrap value only. In addition, most of the engine, accessories and instruments had been cannibalized. Failure to reseal the aircraft after an inspection permitted access to legions of birds to nest and foul the interior over many years. This in turn discouraged the scrap metal merchants from bidding on the aircraft due to the infestation of guano and the subsequent imperfections that it would cause in the smelting of the aluminium. In 1990, some HARS members were in Tucson collecting Neptune spares and saw this derelict Super Constellation. Could this aircraft be recovered? It was in 1954 that Australia's national airline Qantas had acquired its first Super Constellations. In the 1950s, the Super Constellation was queen of the skies. However, her reign was to be brief with the introduction of faster and higher flying turboprop and jet aircraft. Nevertheless, a Super Constellation salvaged for Australia would be historically significant. Negotiations commenced for its acquisition. HARS started what was to become a major project. Restoration work commenced in May 1992 at Pima Air and Space Museum, and in September 1994 the Super Constellation took to the air after nearly 18 years on the ground. The start of the engines and run-up was awesome.
Late in the day, a vital test begins. They've run all the engines before, but never with them so finely tuned, and never with the best set of plugs and fuel injectors.
Starting to.
If all goes well on this run, the engineers, every one of them with a lifetime of Qantas experience, will sign the aircraft off as ready to fly.
Thousands of hours of volunteer labour went in with an aim of a high standard of restoration using retired engineers. Another solid year of work was required to prepare the aircraft for the Pacific crossing, and in late 1995 final flight training was undertaken. Then the plane was towed to the David Monthan runway for departure.
At midday the tow bar is connected and Connie begins the long and careful journey by road to David Monthan Air Force Base. It's a rare sight by Australian standards, but not way out here. Locals are used to seeing aircraft moving through the desert, used to highways being blocked to let them pass. Until today, Connie belonged to the engineers. For 3 hard years it had been their responsibility to bring her back to life, and they've done a magnificent job. But now, sitting on the hard stand at David Monthan Air Force Base, the time had come for the engineers to take a back seat and hand their beloved Connie over to the flight crew.
Bureaucratic complications between the FAA and CASA were exhausting. CASA's obstinacy allowed Lockheed a year in which to completely repaint the aircraft, a cost worth $600,000. On the 3rd of February 1996, the Super Constellation Echo Alpha Golf arrived in Sydney after an incident-free crossing of 39 hours flying time. Stops on the delivery flight to Australia were made at Oakland, Honolulu, Pago Pago and Nadi. Engines were limited to 70% power, giving a slow cruise speed of 220 knots. The traditional arrival into Hawaii, much the same as those experienced by Qantas passengers 40 years earlier.
At 8:30 p.m. local time, the crew is disembarking to a traditional welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. We will now. Thank you.
The moment you land, you begin to see what it is that makes Honolulu such a wonderful place.
The catering for the HARS crew wasn't as salubrious as that experienced by Qantas passengers on Pacific crossings decades ago. Connie obliged waiting media aircraft with a city orbit before touchdown in Sydney to a rapturous welcome. Today, that Connie can be seen at work at HARS, reminding us as to how good looking she is. Thank you for watching. Liking and subscribing promotes the channel. If you would like a copy of Bringing Connie Home, follow this link. Consider donating to support our work.